In the red earth village of Umuokoro, where palm trees swayed like silent witnesses and moonlight told stories older than memory, there lived a man who feared one thing more than death. His name was Obinna Okeke. He was 35 years old, tall, broad-shouldered. His voice carried authority. When he tied his red cap on market days, people stepped aside with respect. But respect is not the same as love. And deep inside Obinna's chest lived a quiet fear, a fear that if he disappeared, life would move on too easily without him. His wife, Adamma, was known for her gentle strength. Her laughter rang like metal bells in the marketplace. Her ofe onugbu soup could make a stubborn man smile. She braided her hair beautifully during festivals, and she carried herself with dignity. But 6 years into their marriage, there was no child. In Umuokoro, a home without a child was like a drum without sound. And at night, under the raffia roof, while crickets sang their endless song, Obinna would whisper into the darkness, "What if I die and no one mourns me deeply?" Adamma would turn toward him and say softly, "Why speak of death when you are alive?" But he pressed further. "If I vanished, would you truly suffer?" She frowned. A man who asks such questions is inviting trouble. The elders often said, "He who tests the depth of the river with both feet may drown." Obinna heard the proverb, but pride is louder than wisdom. One evening, beneath the udala tree, he told his friend Chike the madness in his heart. "I want to know if my wife truly loves me." Chike stared at him, palm wine frozen halfway to his lips. "You doubt her?" "I want proof." "And how will you find it?" Obinna's eyes darkened. "I will disappear." And with that decision, he planted a seed that would grow into regret. 2 weeks later, the village awoke to chaos. Obinna had drowned in the river Idemili. Fishermen claimed his canoe was found overturned. A wrapper stained with oil floated near the shore. There was no body. Women wailed. Men stood in stunned silence. Drums beat slowly like a grieving heart. Adamma collapsed. "My husband cannot swim," she cried. But grief does not wait for logic. A burial was held without a corpse. A carved wooden effigy stood where his body should have been. And far away in the town of Enkpo, Obinna waited for news. At first, Chike told him quietly she refused to eat. Obinna felt satisfaction twist inside him. And now, he asked. Chike hesitated. "She goes to the stream again. She laughs sometimes." Obinna's jaw tightened. "What do you mean she laughs?" "Grief does not silence life forever," Chike replied carefully. Months passed. Adamma carried firewood alone, sold vegetables in the market, fixed leaks in the roof. She learned strength she never asked for. One evening, an older widow named Mama Ugu sat beside her by the fire. "My daughter," Mama Ugu said gently, "a woman cannot tie her wrapper with tears forever." "But people will talk," Adamma whispered. "People talked when you had no child. They talked when he was alive. Let them tire themselves." And slowly, Adamma began to live again. Then came the first twist. A traveling trader named Ikenna began helping her at the market. He was respectful, quiet, patient. He never crossed a line, until one evening he said softly, "You deserve peace." Adamma looked sharply at him. "Peace is not something one deserves. It is something God decides." "And maybe," he said carefully, "God is deciding again." When word reached Obinna that she might remarry, his pride shattered. "How dare she?" he roared. Chike looked him in the eye. "You faked your death." And for the first time, Obinna had no answer. What Obinna expected was eternal mourning. What he found was invisibility. In Nkpo, he worked as a farm laborer. No red cap, no honor, just sweat and silence. At night, memories haunted him. Adamma bringing him water, Adamma massaging his shoulders, Adamma praying beside him for a child. He had mistaken her quiet strength for weakness. One rainy evening, he met an elderly herbalist named Ezeduru. The old man studied him carefully. "You carry the smell of regret," he said. "I carry nothing," Obinna replied stubbornly. "Then why do your eyes look like someone who buried themselves alive?" The words struck like thunder. Over time, Obinna confessed everything. Ezeduru shook his head. "A man who plants suspicion harvests loneliness." "I only wanted to know if she loved me," Obinna protested. "And what did you give her in return?" Silence answered. For the first time, Obinna saw his cruelty, not of hands, but of heart. And so he made a decision. He would return, not to reclaim, but to face truth. 2 years after his so-called death, during the New Yam Festival, drums thundered through Umuokoro. The air smelled of roasted yam and palm oil. Women wore coral beads. Men danced proudly. Adamma stood radiant in traditional attire. Beside her stood Ikenna. They were engaged. And then Obinna walked into the square. Gasps tore through the crowd. "Ghost!" someone screamed. Adamma froze. Their eyes met. "You are alive," she whispered. "Yes," he said quietly. The elders demanded explanation, and in front of the entire village, Obinna knelt. "I faked my death," he confessed. "I wanted to test her love." Anger rippled through the crowd. Adamma's voice trembled. "You buried me in shame. You let me suffer alone." Tears filled his eyes. "I was foolish." Ikenna stepped forward. "What do you want now?" This was the moment. He could demand, he could accuse, he could try to take her back. Instead, he bowed his head. "I want forgiveness, not possession." And then came the second twist. Adamma lifted her chin. "I mourned you," she said, "but I also learned who I am without you." She turned to the elders. "I will not return to a man who tested my heart like a trader tests yam." The elders nodded. Justice did not shout. It stood firm. Obinna was not beaten, he was not banished, but something far more painful happened. He was seen clearly, and respect once cracked does not fully mend. Adamma married Ikenna months later, and a year into her new marriage, she gave birth to twins. The village whispered. Obinna felt the sting, but he understood now. It was never curses, it was never fate, it was simply timing. Years later, Obinna remarried too, but he was different, less proud, more patient. When young men bragged about testing their wives' loyalty, he would say quietly, "Do not test love with cruelty. It may pass the test and leave you behind." And the elders would add, "The fire you set to warm yourself may burn your own roof." In Umuokoro, life continued. Adamma found peace. Obinna found wisdom. Not every loss is punishment. Some losses are lessons. And sometimes the greatest tragedy is not death. It is discovering that love can survive without you.